19, beginning at verse number 8. And let's read together. Or what woman? This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. At this time, I ask that you take your neighbor by the hand, look him or her in the eye, and then repeat after me. Say, neighbor, with God's help and with our prayers, preacher today will preach on the topic, lost in the house. I've got to tell you that this parable came to mind not long ago because of some events that took place within our community. And that story, that event, has been lost. It has been lost among the recent occurrences of the gross miscarriage of justice in Ferguson, Missouri. And it has been lost among the tragedy of senseless gun violence against a 7-year-old riding in a car with his family on Prescott Road in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And it has been lost among the ongoing warfare of biblical prophecy among people of ancient biblical origin. How do you trade 5 terrorists for 1 POW? And tell me it's because we have a policy of not leaving even one behind when, according to FBI statistics in New Orleans in 2013, people were killed at a rate of 42 per 100,000 people. That 42 per 100,000 people, that rate is higher than the rate of Baltimore and Memphis and Chicago. The national average is 4.8 per 1,000 people. And for cities that are similar in size to New Orleans, the average is 11.8. But in New Orleans, it's 42 murders per 100,000 people, and you don't negotiate with anybody for change because of that? And where are the stormtroopers to come in and set order for that? But I digress because, you get lost in it. But lost among all of those events is the June 25th story of a boy in Detroit, Michigan. And he had been missing for about 2 weeks. His parents claimed that they had searched the house. The police claimed they had searched the house. And when I went back and looked at several news reports, they both said we searched the house several times. There appeared to be no sign of this young man. 2 weeks after he was first reported missing, the boy was then discovered in the house. Specifically in the basement of the house. The parents had searched, and in the basement of the house, the police had searched. They said he had been barricaded behind some boxes a large drum in a small basement room behind a furnace and a mechanical unit is still in the house. And I have to tell you that there were some things that bothered me about this situation. It raised some questions for me. The first thing that came to mind, especially recently when revisiting this text and looking at it again, one thing that I realized is that had he not been found, there is a high probability that he would have ended up the victim of some random act of violence within our community. That's the first thing that bothers me. Some other things that bothered me was I wondered, Mama and Daddy, how long did you not see him before you declared him missing? I mean, really, what is an acceptable length of time for somebody you love to go missing? Another question that I had was, really, how carefully did you search once you really believed he was gone? I mean, did you really search every room in the house? Evidently not. He was in a room in the house. How carefully did you search? But I had another question. I had another question. What would cause the boy to want to go missing in his own house? And then I wanted to know, how do people you love and people who claim to love you allow you to go missing then in the house, your own house, where you dwell with them? I had some problems. He chooses then to use a woman for this illustration. There it is. Either what woman having 10 pieces of silver, if she lose one piece, does not light a candle and sweep the house and seek diligently till she find it? She's in the house. She lost one coin. She had 10 of them. She lost one. This coin was extremely valuable to her, and it was likely a silver piece worth about 1 day's wages. 1 day's wages. Several theologians argue that these coins were part of her dowry. And so when a woman married, she took the money she had accumulated throughout her life and sewed it into the headdress that she wore on her wedding day. For her, this was 10 silver coins. It symbolized then all that she had to contribute to the marriage. That means that when you get married, you ought to come in with something. It's Women's Day. All right, this is what the world say. Nothing from nothing leaves. You gotta have, if you wanna. She had to have it. She had to have this coin. This coin then represented a tie to the fulfillment of her future. It was important to her. It held significance for her. It mattered to her. Yet, in spite of all of that, the coin is lost. Whether it was by neglect or whether it was by mistake, it was lost. Whether she intended to be careless or whether she just didn't know to take certain safeguards, it was lost. Doesn't matter the motivation. It doesn't matter the intent. The result of the matter is the coin is now lost. It did not wander away like the lost sheep in the first parable. It didn't run away like the prodigal son in the parable after this. It was lost in the house. Now, this is what I know. We cannot get too holy, and we can't climb on top of our ecclesiastical high horse talking about, I know that would not have happened to me. How irresponsible of her to lose that coin. She should have taken better care of that. She knew what that coin was worth. If I was her, I would have cross-stitched that sucker in my dress. I would have found the double. I sound like I know I can sew, huh? I would have done so. I would have put it in a pocket and made sure that it would have never fallen out. We cannot judge this woman. We can't blame this woman because we as church folk have committed the same mistake. We've lost coins in the house. All right, watch this. How many people have come into this house and gotten lost? We walk them up the aisle. We walk them up here by the altar. We walk them after church. They make their confession and then we drop them off. We never follow up. We never show support. We barely speak to them the Sunday after we walk them up the aisle to join. So they never make a real connection. And so then after they joined, they're more confused than they were before they came. They get lost in the house. How many people have come into this house and then we let them get lost? We may let them sing in the choir. They may sing in the choir. They may serve on the ushers ministry. They may serve on the diaconate, but they have no idea what they are doing or why they are doing it. Some of them are just doing those things, but they don't have a real relationship with Jesus Christ. They're just doing good church stuff. I submit to you that they are lost in our house. All right, sisters, since it's Women's Day, how many other sisters have you lost, not only in the church, but broaden your horizons? How many other sisters have you lost in your own community? How many sisters have you lost among your own circle of influence? That's your house. Wherever you go, you take your house with you. How many sisters have gotten lost? And you know, I would venture to say that it was probably a sister who smiled to hide the tears. I would venture to say that it's a sister who filled prescriptions to mask the pain. I would venture to say that it was probably a sister who ran after men who weren't theirs in the first place in order to feel loved. I would venture to say that it was probably the sister who dressed provocatively to deflect feelings of inadequacy. I want you to know that they are lost, and since they are in your sphere of influence, that's your house. How many coins you lost in your house?